You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 304. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, author of How to Get On Podcasts, the podcast matchmaker, and CEO and founder of the MLG Collective. I'm excited to share the stories and life lessons of changemakers and authors with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and today I have a special guest. She is Anneliese Judge. She is starring in Netflix's Sweet Magnolia, and she's also the host of the dynamic community Who to Judge. Annalise and I met when we were at the San Diego Writers Festival and were placed on a panel together. And we knew, as she says, we were each other's person. We were talking about her career, her love of books, what her community is all about, and why it is so important not to judge others when it comes to how long it takes them to read, what they're doing about reading, what they think about reading, that it's all really about enjoying what you're reading. Hi, Annalise.
Hi.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you
Yes.
again. I felt like we didn't get enough time together in San Diego. I really did. I'm like, I feel bonded.
I do too. No, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you and just talk about all the things because I felt the same way. I was like, we really hit it off, and then it was like, oh, bye, gotta go. Like, see you later. Oh my
Running in
gosh.
different directions. Can you introduce yourself to everyone for just a moment, please?
Yes. Hi, I'm Anneliese Judge. I am an actor. You might have seen me on Sweet Magnolias. Our fourth season just released February 6th. I'm gonna mess it up. I think it's the 6th of this year. So if you haven't checked it out, you absolutely should. It's so fun. It's a great show, if I could say so myself. I'm a cat mom. If you just heard my cat's feeder go off, he's very strict about his eating habits. So he's like on the clock. He's over there now. So sorry if you hear
I
some
love
munching.
that.
But I'm a book club host and a dynamic media community owner, or founder, and so I'm so excited to talk to you about all the things.
I love that. I don't think I've ever had anyone say they're a dynamic media. What was the rest of it? Community?
Dynamic media community, like host, I guess, because I'm working towards producing and bringing things to a different type of medium. And there's the video element of I wouldn't call it a podcast. On our panel, they kept saying my
Right.
author interviews are podcasts, and I was like, I actually just like talk to them and post the videos on Instagram. But sure, I was like, great. But that was a phrase that my boyfriend and I came up with that we were like, oh, that's like kind of cool, and it makes people go like, what is that? But it's like a community where we talk about books, we talk about movies and TV shows, and we just kind of chat. And it's called Who to Judge Co. On Instagram, but Who to Judge is like a play on my last name where, I'm not going to judge how long it takes you to read a book, what you think of the book versus what I think of the book, and we're just going to have a good time and enjoy each other's company.
I love that. You need to trademark that.
Thank you. I should. I don't really have a reason why I haven't.
I have an
should.
attorney who can do it for you. I'll send you her info.
Thank you.
And I
No,
feel
it's
like
super
like
fun.
I like your boyfriend already since we've been talking about him before, but I feel like you might not be able to change your name if you get married. You shouldn't at this
Yeah.
point anyway, because then you can't vote. But
Yeah, we have talked about that. I think I don't want to change my name anyway because it's kind of like not that I'm a doctor, but like when someone goes and they get their degree and they're a doctor, like they did that work, not their husband. It's
right.
Dr. Judge. Like not that I'm a doctor, but yeah, so very much like the work that I've done so far, I'm like, yeah, it's all Annalise Judge. And if I change my name and people try to go and look up my work, then they're gonna be like, oh wait, is this the same person? Or we might not find you. And I was like, no, I want it all to be right there. So we have had many discussions about that, especially with the current climate.
Yeah,
So.
it's yes. I when we got married, I actually dropped my middle name and moved my
Oh,
maiden name
really?
to my middle name. Yes, so that way I could keep
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
It still
no.
doesn't help in the current climate, but it's okay. I have a passport, so
Okay,
Knock on wood.
I was gonna ask if that's because it's not technically the same as your birth certificate or
Right.
whatever, if that still is like a thing that I'd never heard of anyone like moving their maiden name to their middle name. I kind of like my middle name, so I definitely am like
You can add it.
very
You can,
stuck
when you
on
get married, that's like the one chance to do whatever the hell you want with your name, both of you.
yeah.
And so I
Oh,
took
that's
that
cool.
opportunity. Otherwise, you have to go through the courts and stuff. But no, you can do what literally like whatever you want when you get married and you do a name
That's so
change.
cool. Yeah, gosh, I feel like I'm gonna have a long name like your dog. It's
Or my
gonna be like,
children.
yes.
Yes. Yes. My children, my daughter, it's Catherine Virginia Francis.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's a
I really
long
like that.
name. It took her, but she can spell it all. She's 9,
Oh,
granted, but
that's
she learned how to
amazing.
spell it all early on. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that though. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. My older brother just got married last September. And there was so much paperwork that goes into getting married. I was like, what? I was like, you guys can't just go like sign something or like be like, I had to do my left and rights really quick. And just be like, yep, we want to get married. Like, thanks. Like, great. That's it.
Everything. Everything. I just got my real ID and my license renewal this week. And it was like, first I did it all at home and I uploaded. And then I went
Oh
to the
my gosh.
DMV and they wanted to look at it again. And then sign here and take your vision test and give me your fingerprint and do this. And I was like, how many times do I have to sign? Like, you only do the signature once. This is, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, that's so much. I actually was one of the really lucky people who got my real ID in like 2019. I think it was, no, it must have been earlier than that. It was when I got my driver's license when I was 16. So 2017, I got a real ID. It was like
You're
the
such a
very first year. I
baby.
know. It was, I was like, oh God. I was like, am I gonna say it? I'm gonna say it. But it was like I was getting my driver's license and they were like, oh, do you want to get this like real ID? It's like a new thing. And I was like, I mean, like, do I have to have it? Or, and they were like, not right now, but maybe in the future. Like, I would just do it. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And so I had all this stuff anyway, because when you're 16 years old and getting your driver's license, you kind of bring everything because you're like, I don't
Right.
know what you want, but here's everything. And so they were like, oh, great, you already have all this stuff. So like, here you go. And I've always had the little star. And I was like, oh, good,
Yeah, you're
like,
lucky. Yeah.
great. So yeah, that's like just such a mess. And I was like, well, I have it, so
What isn't? What
that's good,
isn't?
I guess. Yeah. They still haven't sent me a horizontal license. I was like, well, I have the real ID, but I don't get a horizontal license because I'm definitely the goody two shoes where I was like, oh God, my license is expiring. Like, I need to get a new one. And it was expiring right before I turned 21. And so I sent in the thing or whatever. I like renewed it and they mailed me back a new one. And I got it after I was 21, but it was still like the vertical.
Oh.
But it's because I renewed it before I was 21. So now I go to, especially here in LA, I go to like a bar or whatever where you have to show your ID or I want to get a glass of wine and they like look at it because apparently North Carolina is like the state that everybody's fake IDs are from and mine is vertical. And so they're always like, what's your address? And like spell your name for me. And I'm like, I don't even
Don't
know.
you know who I am? Look at my
No, I'm
IMDb.
just like, no, oh my gosh. It's more so just like, now I'm stressed. You put me on the spot and you want me to tell you all this information?
I want
Like,
you to drop your
uh,
IMDb though. I yeah,
oh my
use that
gosh.
one. Yes. I
I
would
think in
if
LA
I
they're
hung
not
out
gonna
with you, I
care.
would do it for you.
That's so funny. I think they probably wouldn't care. They'd be like, this is LA, girl, like get in line. We have a whole a whole list of people who wanted to do that too. Um, oh my
Oh my
gosh,
goodness. So
no.
what brought you to LA and to the acting scene?
Oh my gosh. Well, the acting scene, it's kind of that's like a two-parter. So I started acting when I was 13, completely by accident. As we kind of discussed, I'm more of a reserved person. I'm a little shy and like I'm working on opening up and not being quite so awkward and doing things like this on video podcasts. But yes, I was literally on the way to the mall with a friend of mine and she was like way more outgoing. And she was taking these acting classes and so she's like, "Oh, do you mind if we like stop by really quick?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, like whatever. I'm just excited to go to the mall because it's like an hour 15 away. Small town living." I was like, "Great, your mom will take us to the mall. Awesome." And there happened to be an agent there who was like scouting the class that was going on. And so I watched some of the class and I was like, this is really cool. Like I really like what they're doing, and I found myself like really wanting to get involved, but I was like, oh, this is not my class. I'm just gonna watch. And I guess she had been watching me watch the class, and so after it was over, she came up to me and was just like, hey, like, I think you have a really interesting look. Have you ever thought about modeling and acting? Like you seem really interested in this. Um, and I was like, no, no, like never, but this is like really cool. And I talked to my friend, I asked her if it was okay. And at the time she was like, oh my God, of course. And I was like, okay, great. Well, I talked to my parents and we talked to the agent about what I had to do. And so I ended up signing with them for modeling and then for acting. And that was, yeah, I was 13. And then I did a couple like non-speaking commercials, like regional photo shoot things. One was for like a flooring company, I think, or something like very like minimal. And then when I was 17, I auditioned for Sweet Magnolias. And I didn't think anything of it because I was auditioning like 3 times a year. I wasn't getting like a ton of auditions. It was just kind of whatever came across my agent's desk. And so I got the audition and I taped it and kind of like let it go and was like, oh, whatever. And then I was a hostess at a restaurant, and I got the call from my agent while I was there. But like I said, I was a little like goody two shoes and I was like, oh God, I can't be on my phone while I'm working. Like, I'll have to call you later. And so I still have the voicemail where she was like, okay, you need to call me back like right now, like whenever you can. And so it ended up being like 10 o'clock at night when I got off. And she was like, yeah, you booked this job. And like, hey, you have to move to Atlanta in like 2 weeks. And so I was like, oh, great. So great. So I had to work with my parents to like end up transitioning to online school, all the things that you have to do. And I basically moved to Atlanta by myself, and my parents just like drove in, or I had every relative in the whole family tree like come to be my guardian since I was a minor. And so we always joke that everybody on set like knows my entire family and extended family and all of my friends who were over 18 at the time, because they were all my guardians. And so, yeah, that was season 1. And then I went back to North Carolina for a bit, and then we got renewed for another season. And so I decided to be in Atlanta full time. And so I moved to Atlanta, and then I got a manager out here, and my entertainment attorney is out here. And so they've been telling me since really the beginning, they were like, you should be in LA, like during the off season, like you should come out here. There's so much opportunity and to be in person, meet with casting directors and all this stuff. And I've always been like, oh, but what if we get another season? Like, I don't want to have to move back. And they were like, yeah, I understand. And so this past season, though, as soon as we wrapped season 4, I was like, okay, like there's still like opportunity to be renewed, but I feel like I've spent my time in Atlanta. Like I have friends there. It's always going to be like another home to me, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to like make the jump and go. And so I did about a year ago. And we're still waiting to hear about a season 5, of course, but it's like if we get renewed, I'm committed to like moving back and just like having 2 places if I have to, or figuring it out. And so yeah, that was kind of like what brought me to LA, was that they were like, there's so much here that you could be doing. It's just like, it's being in the scene, I think, is so important, especially now. And so I just was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so yeah, it's been about a year.
That's amazing. How long does it take to record a season?
4.5 months. It's about 2.5 weeks for every 2 episodes. And we block shoot, so we shoot by location, which helps it go a bit faster. So I think, yeah, about 4.5 months.
Okay. So you'll be
Yeah.
out here more than half because you'll get
Yeah.
renewed, because why
Uh,
wouldn't you?
Thank you.
Have you found work out here while you've been out here?
Well, so then it was like interesting because we were coming off of the strike, and then things are still super slow. And so I've had a lot of like really close calls, but it's funny that I've learned also being tied to a series, because I'm still currently under contract with them until we're told that we're canceled, or that I'm not coming back or something. But yeah, so it's literally like when you slate, which is like your introduction to a casting director when you're self-taping, and it's like, hi, my name's Annalise, I'm 5'5", and I'm based in Los Angeles, California, and whatever else they want to know. It's like almost more important to your slate. The first question my manager has said from a casting director is always like, okay, is she tied to a series? Like, do they have first position? Do we, like, what do we do? And so my availability has like been like a thing, but
Sure.
we've had some close calls, and then of course roles that I just wasn't right for. But I definitely feel like the experience being out here in LA has been so positive, and I've met so many casting directors. Um, I've just gotten closer with people on our show who live out here too, and I've explored producing. My boyfriend is a producer, so looking at, especially because of my book club and the love that I have for story, if there was opportunity to do something based on IP, and also directing is something I'm really interested in, and so I'm kind of looking into that. I'm working on a short film with my friend. And so yeah, it's been really good. So there's been work, but nothing like another role or anything.
Not that you need it. You're under contract.
Oh my gosh. No, no, but
I
I
love it.
mean
I
it's a
love
question
it.
I feel like everybody asks, and it is something I think that I'm very hard on myself. I've always been very hard on myself and hold myself to very high expectations. And so it is like something that you think about, like, and when people ask, because it's a very common question, like, what's next? What are you doing? And it's like, I'm doing a lot, but also like it doesn't always seem like it because so many things are like under development and like works in progress. And so it's definitely something I feel like in the past that I really struggled with being like, I'm doing things, but it also like it isn't anything that I'm like, guys, look at what I'm doing. And
Right.
it's interesting, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and coming from the outside where you don't know what all the ins and outs are and how long something takes, and that somebody would ask, are you in a series and stuff, like it's intriguing to hear all of, these backstories. And then I think for me, I know in our house, we get very upset when one of our streaming series takes forever to bring out another season. And then you're like, here are 8 episodes, and then you're done. And we're like, but we just binged that in 2 days. And now we have to wait another
Yeah.
year. Like,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I totally get it. But it's interesting, like you said, the behind the scenes of like, it takes about 4.5 months to shoot. And Netflix specifically really likes their 30-day numbers. Like right after a new season drops, they like to get their 30-day numbers. And that's like kind of a big deal for how they decide what shows are going to get renewed versus what shows aren't. And just kind of the statistics that they find and how they decide to crunch them and figure that out. So there's that process. And then there's even more time before we would find out if we were renewed as they continue to see the trends and the fan reactions and things on the internet. Because I believe they do look at those things sometimes.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And so, yeah, there's so much to that. And then I heard something from one of our post-production people because I'm interested in the production side, and they had said I'm gonna misquote him. I'm gonna work really hard not to. I'm pretty sure he said it's like for every 7 days of shooting, it's like 50 something days of post production. So for the 4.5 months that we shoot, there's like 4 times that amount, 5 times amount, whatever, of days that they have to then go, and it's like the color and the sound and the music and all the things. And so it's really interesting to see the process of like how they end up locking the episodes. And then it's like after it's finally done, then the streamer has to figure out like, okay, like when do we want to release this? We have to promote it. We have to like do all this stuff so that people know it's coming out again. And then also you don't want to release like this show alongside this show at the same time because you want to give every show the best opportunity they can get to hit the #1 spot and to get as many viewers as they can have. Like you don't want viewers to be like, oh, I really want to watch this show, but I also really want to watch this show and they both came out, so what am I going to watch first? Like, you want to
Right.
give everybody time to, even if they're not binging, to see everything. So at first I was like the same way. I was like, what do you mean? Like, we wait so long between seasons to even go back and film, and I'm excited to work again and all this stuff. And then I was like, actually, there's so many pieces to it that's like, well, I
Which is
guess
funny
it
because
makes
this
sense.
podcast is the same way.
Yeah.
Before there was AI, like there's been AI for a while, but that's not something that we incorporated into podcasting and show notes and whatnot. But for a 30-minute episode, it took 4 hours of labor after you've already recorded it, but to edit it, to get the show notes, the
Yeah.
transcript, all of it. So that makes sense. And you would think that as someone who knew that, I would have put the correlation together, but I did
But I
not.
get it. No, I
Yeah.
so get it. And that's so interesting too. Well, you also talked about on the panel how like you also get assets together for the people to kind of pass out and market it. And like I'm sure that's so much. I think that was also why on the panel when they were like, "Oh, your podcast," and I was like, "I don't do all that stuff." Like, I should. I was like, I totally should, but I was like, I was like, this is something more for fun for me. Whereas, like, I know it's like so there's so many moving parts for people like you who like really have a podcast.
Well, let's
So
talk
no, I
about
find
who to
that
judge.
fascinating.
Like, how did you come up with this? When did you start? Like, tell us all the things. Let's talk books.
Oh, oh my gosh, I love books. I've always been a reader. My whole family loves to read. My dad has always been super into sci-fi, super into yeah, I think sci-fi is probably the category for him, the genre. And so he listens to audiobooks. He always has one in his ear. My mom has always loved romance. She loves rom-coms. She loves anything of the romance genre and the subgenres. My Grammy was a big reader. She always had those books with Fabio on the cover, like on her next to
Yes.
her rocking chair in the living room,
That you
and
can buy at the
like
grocery store at the checkout stand.
yes, yes. And I remember as a kid going to the grocery store with her and her like looking in the aisle at them, and like I've always been surrounded by readers, and I was totally the kid who in kindergarten like my favorite thing that we did was go first thing in the morning, and I'd be like kind of tired, but it would be what woke me up for the school day was we'd go to the library and sit on this really colorful carpet that had like the very hungry caterpillar on it, and like we would just sit there and our librarian would read to us, and it was like the best thing ever. And I remember so many of the stories that I grew up on, and I, yeah, I loved reading growing up. And so then as I started moving around and, kind of that like 17 to probably like 22 age, I was just so busy with like learning how to adult and like take care of myself, living on my own and all these things that I really dropped my love for reading, or I let it take the back burner with all the other things that were going on. And I realized it was like December of 2023. I was looking at New Year's resolutions. Everybody was talking about them. And I was like, what's something that I would really like to do more of in the next year? And I realized that I could not remember the last time that I had read a book for fun. And it made me like really upset. I was like, oh my gosh, like I used to read all the time. Like you could not pry a book out of my hand. If I got into trouble as a kid, my mom would like take away my books, kind of a thing. She was like, no, you can't read. Like you're just gonna sit here and like be freaking bored. Like that's it. That's all you get. And it was like that would devastate me at the time. And so I made myself a goal that I was going to read one book a month for the entire month of 2024, or the entire year of 2024. I obviously need to slow down. Um, yeah, I also get so nervous during things and I speed talk. I'm like yapping. So at any point, if you're like, what did you just say?
You are good.
Slow me down. But yeah, so one book a month, every month of the year of 2024. And so I set that goal for myself, and I'm the kind of person who needs accountability. I love group workout classes, or else I'm not going to push myself with the weights. Like, I'm just not going to do it. As soon as it starts to burn, I'm like, oh, good. That was good for the day. I'm done. I need that kind of like group motivation and mentality. I love that. I thrive on it. And so I decided I was just going to make an Instagram account and post on it just pictures of myself in the book and be like, hey guys, I'm reading this book this month. If you want to read with me, fantastic. I was like, but I'm going to post here because this is a goal of mine and this is how I'm going to keep myself accountable. If I'm posting for you, I'll do it for myself too. So that was my year of 2024, and I didn't really post a ton. I wasn't doing author interviews or anything like I am now. It was just something that I found a ton of joy in, and I realized in talking to a lot of people who did decide to read with me that it was so much easier to not have the traditional book club deadlines, to not feel like, oh, if I didn't read the whole book in a month, if it took me like a month and 2 weeks or something, that I wasn't just going to give up on the book or rush through it and not even really enjoy it, just trying to get to the end so that I could talk to somebody about it. And that was just something that I had really struggled with in the book clubs I had tried to join during that time. And so that's when kind of I was like, I want to take this a step further. I want to make this a real book club. And at first it was called Annalise's Book Club. And I really started posting about it. I really started stressing to people, like, reading is really fun. I loved it so much as a kid. I still love it. I love story. I think that's really what sparked my love for acting, was the stories that we were telling, even without words, and just the way we watch people move through life. And walking in somebody else's shoes and the different perspectives that we gain from story. And I just love that so much. And I think that that was what I think reading is absolutely the pipeline that took me to acting and what I do now. And so yeah, so it was Annalise's book club, and then in January of this year, I was like, I'm gonna really try to make this like bigger. I want to reach more people. I feel like it's really been a great way to get more people into reading, and I've gotten some really positive feedback. And so I was like, what really embodies like the message and the foundation of this book club? And my boyfriend and I went back and forth on like names and things we could call it, and we ended up landing on Who to Judge as like a, I don't care how long it takes you to read the book. I don't care if it's like gonna be the best book you ever read, or if you were like, oh, I decided not to finish this one, but I'll still talk to you about why. Like, I just think I love community, and I love that aspect of being able to just share something with someone and get to know them through that. And especially with stuff online, like everything being online and being able to reach out to people in that way and connect, I think there's so many opportunities there. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came to be and where it is now. And in the last like 8 months, I would say, I did author interviews. I just started reaching out to authors and being like, hey, we're going to read your book this month, and would you mind like hopping on a call with me to chat about it and share anything
And authors
additional about the
love that.
story? And I found that they really do. At first I was like, okay, they're probably not going to respond, or not going to like, they're going to be like, no, I don't want to do that. But they've actually really been so great, and I've met so many people through doing that. Like one of my best friends, I would say, Betty Coet, we did her book last May. So I guess it's almost been a year of doing them, but yeah, I interviewed her on Instagram Live, and then it was like it moved to Zoom, and now it's moved to Riverside, and I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go as something that's easy and fun. And for a while I was just doing like, I would record myself saying the questions and they would record their answers, and trying to make it really easy and just fun for everybody involved, where it's like, okay, like whatever works for whoever. And if you only have time to send me, like, I'll send you the questions and you just type up your answers, that's so fine. Like, I just want to hear about the behind the scenes. I want to hear about, why you love story. And it's been fun. I think the root of it is just that it's so fun. And I want it to always be fun, because that's like, I feel like as adults, we end up like letting go of the things that we find fun, because we end up making them less of a priority
Hmm.
than those responsible things and the things that get other things done. And it's like, we deserve this. Like, we deserve to have something fun and hold on to it and make it a piece of our day. So,
How do you
yeah.
choose the books?
Um, it's kind of whatever I'm like interested in reading. I feel like I get so many recommendations. Sometimes people will send like book picks, and they're like, "Oh, I'd really love to read this." And if I read it, like the synopsis, and I'm like, "Oh, this would be great," that sometimes is how it ends up being a pick. I think also if the author is available and open to doing something, I'm really trying to prioritize the author being involved and being able to share the mind behind the story. I think is really important to me, and
Hmm.
highlighting debut authors and their journeys, because also I think highlighting that it's so different for everybody is just a really cool thing. There's so many writers who follow me who are, writing their first book or just published their first book. And so I think that being able to see that that process is going to be totally different for every single person who does it is just kind of a cool thing to be able to start conversations about and continue discussing.
Yeah.
I think I would say I also pick books if it's like an author that I know and I've met in person, and we just hit it off and I want to have a conversation with them. I'll be like, okay, we're going to do your next book. Like, when does it come out? And that'll be like that book. So there's like one in September that I'm already like, okay, great. Like, we met and your book comes out in September. Like, okay, checked off the list.
I'm the
So yeah,
same
I think it
way. Yeah.
depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got all of my books through the fall of, okay, what's coming out when? Do I have an arc of it? Because I want to interview this author, or this story is just so good. I can't wait to get to it. And that's my
Yeah.
reward to myself. It's like, I'm finishing this book. Now I can go on the next one. And yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think it helps it to be more organic too, I think, and conversational, where it's something that I'm really interested in learning about, or really interested in hearing this person's story. Because there's so many layers to story too, and I love books that have multiple elements to them. I think that's something I really love about Sweet Magnolias, and we did the Sweet Magnolias book in February when the fourth season came out, just because I was like, I actually really want to take this opportunity to interview the author of the books, but then also our showrunner, and just talk to people who work on the show and ask them about, how they ended up where they are today and the process of taking a book and making it for the screen and what that looks like. And I think that just goes back to what I was telling you earlier about how lucky I am that I feel like in everything that I've done, career and my personal life, there's been so many people who have just totally embraced me and totally uplifted the things that are important to me and just supported me. And I think not everybody gets that and has that and finds that in that way. And so it's been really fun. And it's really like, I think the core of it is always trying to make sure that it stays fun for me. Even acting, like I never want to do it in a way that doesn't feel fun and doesn't feel joyful. And like that very first time that I was watching the acting class, and I was like, this is just like a passion of mine and something that I have to do. Because if it wasn't something that I had to do, I like totally wouldn't do it because it's hard. Like,
What did you want to be when you grew up? So you go back to when you were 13, before you walked
yeah,
into that acting class. What did you think you wanted to be?
I really didn't know. I really like, I had so many ideas. I wanted to be a lawyer at one point. Like even when I was in high school, I was taking classes at the community college. They had like a program where you could take classes and at
We're
the same
very
time,
aligned, Annalise. I feel we're
yeah.
very, yeah, I wanted to be an attorney. I took a briefcase to kindergarten. And then
Yeah,
I
but I was
also
like, I'm
did,
terrible at
I did
public
my summer
speaking.
school classes at the community college.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. No, that's so cool. And I love those opportunities. I think that was something that my high school did really well, is that they worked really closely with the like area's community college. And I guess I think it's called like Sandhills Promise or something. And if you take a certain number of community college classes while you're in high school, and they're free, if you do X number of them, you'll get 2 years at the community college for free. And you can go to school right after you graduate college or graduate high school and get a 2 year degree. And I just think that's so great. And it has made and continues to make an impact on my hometown community in such a positive way. And so I was one of those people. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I was like, I want to just kind of test out what these classes look like. And I took a history class, and my mom is a teacher. And I was like, maybe I'll be a teacher. Maybe, but I'm terrible at public speaking. Like, I was like, God, I don't know why. I was like, oh, maybe one day, maybe I'll learn in these classes how to be a good one. Um, but yeah, there were so many things I had no idea, and I went to school at the University of Greensboro in North Carolina for 2 years between season one and season three, and then when we were renewed for season three, it was interesting because it was during COVID that I was going to school, and so everything was online. So
Sure.
even though I was kind of going back and forth, it didn't matter. But then season three, the school had decided to go back in person. And when I was like, oh, but I have to be in Georgia, like, can I continue to do online? Like, it's worked so far. Because the program that I was taking was so small and so niche, they were like, no, like, you have to be here, or like, you have to unenroll. And so I was like, well, bye. And they were actually really surprised that I did that. And I was like, I don't know why, but okay. So I only did 2 years, but I studied consumer apparel and retail studies, with a concentration in retail studies and the analytics behind retail. And so I worked, one of our class assignments was working with Wrangler and Walmart and kind of looking at their displays. We went to a few different Walmarts, and like looked at how much space, like the exact square footage that they would give to each type of jean. Like the boot cut got this percentage and the skinny jean got this percentage, and we did trend forecasting, and I took a class on color analysis, and I thought that was so cool. And I think that's why when we were talking about movies, I was like, I pay a lot of attention to like costume and the details, and I just think it's because I've always loved that. And so yeah, I did. I went to school for a little bit. So I think a part of me also wanted to go into costume. Season two, I shadowed our costume designer and the costume department, and kind of, you know, got to see their day to day, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, I think I need to focus on acting right now. And I think a part of that, again, I told you I just go around and around, was that I up until really this last season, I feel like I read Stephen King's On Writing, and he talked about when you walk into a room, he walked into this room and there was all these doors, and he just like couldn't wait to fling them all open. And I was talking to our showrunner about it, and I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like I envision myself having walked into this room of like all these doors, and I told myself that I could only open one at a time. Like for so
Mm.
long I've always been convinced that like, oh, well, like I'm an actor, so like I'm only going to act. Like that's it. And so I loved costume and I loved law when I was studying in high school, and then I had let that go, but it was like I was like, "Oh, no, I'm going to be an actor, and if I don't just act, people are going to think that I'm not focused, or people are going to think that I'm not really in it, or that I don't love it as much as I really do, or that I'm not serious about it." And so I've always kind of had this tunnel vision of like, okay, I can only do acting things and I can only like be seen as an actor. And so I think that was something that the book club really helped me with, and opening it up into who to judge and wanting to get more into the producing space and wanting to take things and build upon the stories that they already are and dive deeper into them, I think is it's really been such a great exploration for me personally. And then, like I said, getting into directing and doing this short film with my friend and writing and directing and all the things. Like, I think I've really tried to be like, you actually can do all of these things and be a multifaceted person, and that's okay. Like, people
Yes.
want that for you. So you should like do that.
And do it while you're young and you can figure out whatever is the passion. I love that you figured out what you really love doing when you were so young and have gotten to stick with it. But then as you grow, at least this is take it from someone who's over like 20 years older than you. Um, as you grow, you find that your interest in things grow as well. And so you're going to have more opportunities where you pivot, where you change, where you embrace things, you try out new things. And then you're going to hit 40 and you'll be like, life is good. Okay, this is where I'm meant to be. And I've tried all
Yeah.
these things. And you become comfortable in a, not a comfort lazy way, but a comfort of like, I got this. I can try this out. It's not going to break something, but I like where I am and who I am. So I think it's great that you're trying all of these things out in your 20s.
Thank you. It's funny. I feel like I have a very like analytical, like intellectual mind in the terms of like I know that your 20s suck. And I'm like, I know that these things are gonna pass, but I still like mentally can't get over the hurdle all the time, and I find myself realizing these things that like I would totally have always preached to my friends, like the people that I love, and be like, if you want to do this thing, like go after it. You can do anything that you want to do. You can do all the things that you want to do, and like that doesn't make you less serious, or that doesn't mean that you don't care, that you don't whatever. Like I totally would have encouraged these people to do anything they wanted and like to believe in themselves, and that's like a whole other piece of it. And then like for myself it was like, oh no, but I just have to do this one thing, like that's this is enough because this is what all these people are going to think. And so it's just funny that like I know those things and that's the advice that I give people, but then it's like myself, I'm like, ooh, but not for me. Like I
Do
know
as
I'm
I
not
say,
going
not
to
as
do
I
this
do.
stuff. Yeah, and so I'm really, I think the last year has been such a great time for me, and just like opening it up and being like, nope, you actually can do whatever, and like that's okay, like that's
The world
fun.
will not judge you. Who's going to
Yeah,
judge you, Miss Judge?
yeah, well, people might, but hopefully not in this
We don't like
community that
those
I'm
people.
trying
It's
to build.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably don't like themselves either, so that's also another piece of
Yeah,
it.
that's
But
another episode.
yeah, it is. I told you we can go we can go around and around and a rabbit hole, and we'll just talk about it all. But
You're adorable. I'm so happy that we got to connect, that we were on this panel together. And I was like, oh yeah, I really like, can we be friends after this?
yes, oh my gosh,
I'm
yes.
like, you're like my person. So let's make sure that we take a selfie and keep going.
No, I
Uh,
love it. I was so excited to email you and talk about this and now talk to you now, and like yeah, I was so happy, and I appreciate you just like letting me yap. I feel like you're my person. Like you're like, yeah, girl, like just keep going. Like
yes,
just
I'll be
keep
your big
going.
sister.
I love it.
Can you share with everyone where they can find you and where they can join Who to Judge?
Yes, they can find me at my personal Instagram is Annalise C Judge, Anneliese C Judge, like the court judge, even though I didn't end up being a lawyer or a judge. And then Who to Judge Co is just Who to Judge Co on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, I would love to connect with anybody who wants to talk about books or TV shows or anything.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Friends, I love Annalise's outlook on reading, on book clubs. She is just such an absolute pleasure of a person. I can't say that enough. I feel like she's the younger version of me in a lot of ways, and yet she is so much further than where I was when I was in my 20s. So she is absolutely incredible. I hope you join Who to Judge. Go follow Annalise, interact with her. She is such a great human being, and I know you are going to fall in love with her as well.